Hello guys, how are you today? It's 4th of February and it's windy, rainy, cold. So I've got the coal fire going, and while that's warming up I thought I'd come up here and do a bit more work on this engine, my race engine. Well, fast road slash race engine that I'm doing for the Thunderace. Yesterday's video was discussing about stuff like this. Today's video is um, right. So I think we've got four classes, haven't we, of tune? Let's say we've got the standard, which is as it comes from the factory. We've got a stage one, a stage two, stage three. Because normally when you have something tuned, it's like, oh, it's stage one, stage two head, stage three head, or whatever. So to start off with the standard, I've got to decide which engine to use because I've got a couple of engines. I've got maybe two Thunderace engines in bits, and I've got probably maybe three Thunderace engines that are in frames that I could use that run already. So I'm trying to decide which engine to use. Do I use one that's already in bits and I can't remember if I've heard them running or not, or if I've just bought a collection of bits that have gone cheap? Um, or do I use an engine that's already running? Now, if I use an engine that's already running, I reckon one of the first jobs I need to do is get it dynoed. And the reason that is because then I'll know exactly what I'm starting with, and whether I've made gains or losses, if you know what I mean. Whereas I can't really do that with an engine that's in bits. But if I'm starting with an engine in bits, then I think what I'll have to do is do all this, rebuild the engine so it's running, and then get it dynoed. So it's been years since I've had a bike dynoed, but I reckon it's going to be 150 quid, isn't it? And if I start with an engine in bits and build it, um, then we're talking 150 quid for the dyno plus how much is a full gasket set for a Thunderace? They're well over 100 quid. So let's say another 150 quid. So let's just say 300 quid minimum just to get a standard engine. Well, no, sorry, it's 150 quid minimum, isn't it? With a standard engine, because if it's already running, then I just need to get it dynoed. But if I use one in bits, then the rebuilding it, actually, it's going to be more than that. The rebuilding it, you've got the gasket set, you've got the bearings, you've got the seals, you've got probably, I don't know, valve seals, um, do it, pit rings, I don't know. So to use a standard engine, it's 150 quid minimum. So um, let's just assume that I use an engine that's already running and I take it to a dyno and it costs me 150 quid. Then at least I know then, don't I, what I'm starting off with. And then once I've found that out and it's on paper, then I can start to dismantle that engine. And then once it's in bits, then I can start doing this checklist. Check each component for signs of damage, measure all components, weigh them all, etc. Um, and then, obviously, to do a stage 3, you would still have to do 2 and 1, wouldn't you? So let's just start off with a stage 1, and even that's going to cost over 2 grand, I reckon, because I mean the port shaping, the port polishing. We're talking. I'm going to need a Dremel with a flexible shaft and various bits. How much of them? I don't know. Let's just say 100 quid for a decent flexi shaft with bits. Um, so the Dremel will do that. The valve and seats, I've already got like a little gauge thing. I've just ordered some off AliExpress of a valve seat cutter, which is about 30 quid. The combustion chamber, yeah, that's just a lot of checking. the compression ratio, whether you want to increase it or not. Potentially, you could use you could get the head skimmed. Potentially, you could use different pistons where it brings up the compression ratio. I don't know. Matching up manifolds, that's probably fairly straightforward because it's just a matter of marking and filing down. I definitely want a set of these FCR 39s. Um, so let's just say that they're 1500 quid. Do I need to do a with the ignition module, the ICU? Can I keep it as standard? I don't know. Question mark. Cooling. Right, do I... We all know that the FZR 1000 had an oil cooler, which is basically the same engine as a Thunderace, more or less. So I could use an FZR 1000 oil cooler to go towards the cooling side of things, or I could just keep it as it is. I know that twin K&N filters to fit these are probably about 75 quid or something, and a tuned exhaust. To get one made, I had an exhaust made for an XS1100 that I did that came out under the seat with two pipes, and it was about 500 quid. I've seen on AliExpress you can buy lengths of exhaust tubing with different various bends and whatever. So I'd probably go down that route, but I've put 500 quid again. So to do a stage one, we're still talking at least 2,300 quid, aren't we? At least. If I go down that route, which I do want to, I'll be honest with you. If I didn't go down that route and I kept the standard carbs and maybe rejetted them, then we're probably talking, I don't know, maybe 200, 250 quid to get it rejetted. So let's knock 1,200 off that. I don't know. So what's... Oh God, my bloody head's gone. Where's the bloody calculator? 2 seconds. Calc. So 2325 minus 1250. Yeah, 1075. So with the FCRs it'd be that. No FCRs, it would be oh, I've shut the bloody calculator down. My memory's terrible. 2352 2325 minus 1250, because we're going to allow 250 quid for rejetting, so that's 1075. Reject standard carbs. But so stage one then, could I get away with doing all this for a grand for a stage one engine? Now I'll be honest with you, I am really tending to go for a 1040 kit, because I did that last time and it seemed to work well. It seemed to be really good. So there's that. So the big bore kit is about 800 quid actually, plus actual rebore. How much does somebody do a rebore for? Let's just say somebody will rebore 4 barrels, well, one set of barrels, which is 4 chambers. Let's say 100 quid each, so that's 400 quid. I'm guessing at these figures, so actually that should be 2.7. So you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to work out at how much each stage is going to cost me, because I can't. There's no way I can spend, you know, 2 grand there, 2 grand there, and bloody 2 grand there. I'm not gonna have 6 fucking grand in an engine. That's just ridiculous. I'm not that rich. So I'm trying to work out which is the best way to go and what's the best value for money basically. Um, so there's a lot of toing and froing, isn't there? If I'm gonna if I'm gonna go down this stage two, I reckon I need to get stuff crack tested like the crankshaft and the rods and stuff. And I need a different set of cams. Obviously, this tuned exhaust. Um, would I do a 4 into 1 for a stage 2 instead of a 4 into 2 into 1 for a standard? It depends where I want the torque range, doesn't it? Because according to A. Gray and Bell, you can tune the exhaust to whatever range you want it to be tuned to. Um, so anyway, and then like I say, the stage 3 would be the same for the stage 2, but then with the addition of improving the crank journal lubrication, um, obviously a lightened crankshaft, maybe increased valve sizes, titanium valves, springs, buckets, guides, whatever. That's just a pure guess, is that. I don't know if you can get them in titanium. You know, you can get titanium valves for a Thunderace, or should I say for a 5 valve head. Um, so I think, I'll be honest with you, I think this is out of my scope, out of the question, to be honest with you. 2 minutes, I'm on video. That were our lass, just shouting me. So it's going to be probably a toss up between that and that, which would include obviously this. So, but my first question is, guys, what would you do? Would you already use an engine that's already running that you can just take to a dyno and get it dynoed, and it's going to cost you 150 quid, and then you know where you start, and then we start on this or this, or I've got all these bits which have cost me nothing really. So do I build an engine up using all these bits, throw it in a frame, get it dynoed? Obviously, we're talking double that because there's the seals, the gaskets, and stuff like that. But then I'd have to strip it all down again, or certainly the top end, to do all this. So let's 300. So as a very very maximum, we're talking 2,700 quid, aren't we? Using loads of bits for a stage 1, or what's plus 150, so that's 2,475 for an existing engine for a stage 1. It's going to take a lot of planning. I think this stage 2 is going to be, oh, you see I wanted that, didn't I? I wanted a bloody big bulk. Oh god. I'll tell you what, do you know what, fuck it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use an engine that's already running. I'm going to get it dynoed, then I'll take the top end off and I'll do the ports, shaping, polishing, exhaust ports, or what. Or actually, I could use an engine that's already running, couldn't I? Get it dynoed, but then one of these spare heads, I could be doing that, all this on the spare head, and then put it on top of the engine that I've had dynoed. Just swap the heads. And then obviously take it for another dyno. And then what I will do then is I will know, won't I? See what I've ended up with. Right. Anyway, in the meantime, I bought several books. I'm gonna list all the books I've bought off Amazon. Some have been cheap, some have been, by cheap I mean 3 quid because they're old books. Some have been pretty dear, like 20 quid, 30 quid. Because I don't want to just rely on one book. I want to read several books and see if they all say the similar things. So anyway, guys, that's it for today. Sorry, I've been waffling on, but I've got loads of stuff in my head, and I'm just trying to work out, and I'm trying to do notes as to which way to go, if that makes sense. Thank you.